So my name is Wyn, and my current role is the brand ambassador for the south of the U.S. for Empress Gin, amongst a couple other brands in our portfolio. Yeah. So I actually started out as a barista when I was 13, and kind of worked my way up to a kind of store manager slash pastry chef. So I learned how to make Belgian waffles, crepes, gelato, chocolate dip thingies, boba from scratch. When I turned 18, it was time for me to go to college. So I applied to SF State, got in, and ended up moving there. And that's when I kind of got my first bartending serving gig. I actually got a fake ID so that I'd be able to bartend, because in the state of California, you can't actually pour liquor until you're 21. So I started working at a restaurant called A16, which has the largest Southern Italian wine list in the country. They have a book that they hand you. It's a binder, and it's just pages on pages on pages of wine. And you'll get a grape like Nero Diavolo, which half people don't know what that is. And there's just 13 pages of different varietals about it. So I was there for a while, and then I started bar managing at a wine bar right next door that was a winery that had its own wine bar. So I got to kind of work directly with a winery and kind of discover how grapes, go from the soil all the way to the bottle. And that's kind of where I fell in love with liquor. And because they had a small little bar with whiskey and vodka and everything, so I was able to start kind of experimenting. And then when I graduated, I moved to Portland because I needed somewhere to land, and San Francisco was just getting a little too expensive. So moved to Portland, and I actually got a job as a GM, which I was way underqualified for, but they didn't know how old I was. They didn't know how unexperienced I was. So, we made it work. But I was there for about a year, and I actually did really well. Kind of learned how to do everything while I was there. I studied, I went to other bars, and I kind of would just practice bartending over time until I really got it down. And I do like to tell people, just because you're a GM doesn't mean you don't have things to learn, and I think that was especially true for a 21-year-old. So after about a year, I got invited to come be the assistant food and beverage director at Canopy Hotel in Portland. So I was there for about a year. And then I moved over to Domaine Serene Winery, where I kind of ran the sales program for one of their locations. And that's when I discovered that I was really great at kind of creating experiences for people, as well as getting them to give me copious amounts of money in exchange for great product. And then the pandemic hit, so I had to kind of make a choice, because Oregon went through open, shut down, open, shut down, open, shut down. And the unemployment line was 500 calls a day, putting on hold. You're not actually even getting through on any of those calls. It's you're waiting to be put on hold, and God forbid you call at 4:59 and you finally get off the hold line, but now they're all going home. So that just kept happening. So after the third shutdown, it was after Thanksgiving. So I flew out to Austin, because it was either Texas or Florida, and I wasn't moving to Florida. So came out here, did 28 interviews in 3 days, and then I flew back and packed up my corgi, and a week later we moved here. So I started working at Fix Southern House for a while, just bartending and serving there. And then I kind of got into consulting, so I would just go into bars and restaurants and kind of teach bartenders how to bartend, because there's something to be said about getting back to basics and learning how to, hold a jigger appropriately, how to put the shaker tins and where they're supposed to line up. And there's a reason why you use the smaller one versus the bigger one, and when to put your ice in and how long to shake it for. And then I would also help with POS systems and making sure that all their buttons would go through to a program like Beverage, for example, where it would pull from your inventory so that your inventory every month is super accurate, and then you don't have to do it every week. And if you need to place an order, it already generates that for you. So just kind of teaching people how to use these systems effectively, because all of these tools are out there, but if you don't know how to use them, they're just costing you money versus helping you. So did that for a while. And then I became the beverage director for a small little restaurant called Toshikan, which is an omakase speakeasy that got Michelin nominated this past year when they did the first Texas Michelin ratings in Houston. So I was there for about a year, and while I was there, my friend Frankie would ask me to do some events for him where I would create cocktails and go and bartend somewhere that was a little bit more special. And one of the events was at the CEO of Milestone's house. Milestone is who owns Empress Gin, Wyn Vida, and a couple other brands. And we got to talking for about an hour, and I came in for a meeting the next week, and we kind of went back and forth for a while, because moving from, the bar side of things to becoming what essentially is at its core is a rep is really hard when it's been stigmatized so much. I feel like a lot of people look at reps and they see the rolly bag and they're immediately the bad guy, right? Because they get hired straight out of college, they don't know anything about liquor. Obviously that's not me, I'm a very different kind of rep, but that's something that the CEO, Eric, saw in me that I don't think he finds a lot of in other people. So after about 2 months of kind of going back and forth and kind of molding the position to a little bit more for what would work for me and for him, we finally signed, and then I started on January 2nd. So it's been about a year and a half of me working for this brand. I've loved it. I've loved Empress Gin for probably like 6 or 7 years now. Anytime I'm working on a cocktail menu, it's on it, regardless of whether I've worked for the brand or not. Just because it is a beautiful gin, but it's also just, I think like it's a gorgeous gin, but it's also beautiful in flavor. Like it's not super juniper forward. It's kind of like a vodka drinker's gateway drug into gin, because it doesn't have that like giant botanical bomb, which, you know, yes, us bartenders love that. Us industry people love that because it's kind of like coffee, right? You have to like force yourself to like it. But after a while, like sometimes I really do just want a clean product that's going to work for everybody. And yes, like you see this cocktail go out and people are going to be like, wow, what is that? I want that. And you get this fajita effect, and now it's the Empress effect. So I think one thing that's important to note is that when it comes to what you're selling, you do have to love it. You do have to believe in the product, because if you don't, you're going to be seen right through. Like, for example, car salesman, right? Like that is a very different kind of job, but there's reasons why the reps who act like car salesmen, who don't love the product and are just out here peddling whatever and anything that they can, and it doesn't really work for them. They don't really end up doing well, not even like long term, to be honest, because everybody kind of sees right through you. Those are the guys that come in on a Thursday night at 7:30 with the rolly bag, and realistically, people are just trying to get rid of you at that point because they're just like, yes, I'll buy one bottle, please leave now. But for me, because I love the product so much, I'm going to come in and I'm actually going to be passionate about it. I'm going to talk about what it can do for you. I also won't ever bring you a product that doesn't make sense for your bar. Like we have plenty of things in our portfolio that are like flavored, or, you know, has like moonshine is something that we carry as well, but that doesn't work for every bar. So why would I pull that out when I can pull out something like our Dulce Vita 100 proof Blanco that would work for that bar, right? Because otherwise you're starting to create a barrier between you and the bar manager to where it seems like you don't understand what you're talking about. So I think the beverage scene out here in Austin has changed quite a bit. When I first moved here, it felt like there was a certain level of craft and consistency, and I don't want to call it like pretentiousness, but that there is a certain whiff of that going on in Austin. I feel like a lot of bartenders have moved away from being hospitality and turned into mixologists, and I really do hate it when people call me that, because for me, calling yourself a mixologist takes the hospitality out of bartending. And I think with Austin kind of moving into a lot more of these, you know, $14 to $16 drinks, and people loving those even more, and it really is more about who works there and like falling in love with that person versus, oh, the drink is so fabulous and I could never create this at home. Because realistically, any drink can be made at home. Any drink can be recreated. Yeah, it's going to take you some time to figure out what was in it, but it can be recreated. But that experience that that bartender gives you, that can't be recreated, whether that was good or bad. So I think a lot of people are moving into becoming more regulars at bars, and those bars are kind of becoming more perceptive to that. So the craft cocktail bar scene, I think, is starting to dissipate a little bit, and it's moving more into like classics, riffs on classics, and maybe a couple here and there that are like ultra amazing, but people are really starting to focus more on how can you make these people's lives better for the next hour and a half to 2 hours so that they can walk away having a better night than they were when they walked in. So when John came to me, when you came to me, I guess, about where would be a good spot to host SpeedRailz, my instant thought was going to be Cabana Club. It is a beautiful space. It's got so much bright light and space. Like it's got 3 wells going on. There is so much potential for this space to be filled up with bartenders and industry people, and everyone who works here has been in the industry for quite some time. So I think like the cohesiveness of it just works really well for both sides. I'm really excited to get a bunch of industry people into this space and really just kind of commune together and get back to like that old school tales of the cocktail style of format, because what that used to be was like a whole bunch of bartenders gathering and just being friendly versus like competing, right? Because a lot of bars are not doing well right now, and I feel like a lot of bartenders will hop around, you know, job to job, just trying to find where makes the most money. but events like this actually bring everybody together and it gets everyone being friendly again. So I think the education portion that I'm trying to bring in will really be back to like what I was talking about earlier with getting back to hospitality, getting back to bar basics, learning how to use a jigger properly, learning where the pour line is, because, when you're looking at a jigger, right, there is a line that's inside that's like a 1.5, and then there's like maybe a 1.75, and then there's a 2-ounce line. What people don't realize with the jigger, just being very specific about this one thing, is that you're actually supposed to get this little meniscus going over it in order to be exactly 2 ounces. So just kind of teaching people little things like that, learning to not put ice in a shaker tin before it's actually ready to be shaken because you don't want to over dilute the drink. Just those are going to be the kind of things that I'm going to be touching on. I think what distinguishes me between a rep and like what I do is that I really do care about the craft, and I do really care about the bars that I'm selling to, because I want this industry to do well. My ultimate goal in life is to open up my own bars and restaurants. So by making sure that this industry continues to succeed, I think that that's setting me up for success in a longer term way than just getting people to pick up product that they don't know how to use. And that really does come down to hospitality and learning how to make a drink properly. So my Instagram handle is @drinkbywyn. It's like I drank something yesterday, so with an A. And my first name is Wyn, W-Y-N. So DRANKBYWYN. I feel like everybody misspells that, but yeah, just Instagram is the easiest way to get a hold of me.